Science Breakfast Show with me, Alan Hubbard, and sign language interpreter is Madame Cheptile. And this morning we're going to be talking about matters taxes. Yeah, we have we oftenly say the taxman, but this time around we have the tax woman in in studio, and we're going to be talking about matters taxes and why it is important for you as a Kenyan to pay your taxes duly. There's so many questions that you might have, and I might also have, so I'm going to be asking these questions on your behalf. But if you also want your questions to be heard, kindly put them in our comment sections across social media platforms. That is Science TV, that is on X, formerly Twitter, that is on Facebook, and of course you can utilize the SMS numbers and WhatsApp numbers which are scrolling on your screen, and I'll be glad to pass those questions on to our guests. And without further ado, kindly introduce yourself and tell us why it is important that you come to have this conversation this morning.
Oh, thank you, Alan. Good morning. My name is Mildred Tinyari.
Yes.
I'm an officer at Kenya Revenue Authority.
All right.
And I'm glad you're hosting me today to have this discussion around taxes and compliance and what KRA is doing in terms of that to facilitate people file their returns, pay their taxes. Yes.
Let's start it at sort of a pan point of view. Could you demystify working with KRA? Because most of the times we look at KRA as the bad guys. How is it really like working with the KRA, and what sort of a picture would you want Kenyans to paint of an officer who works with the Kenya Revenue Authority?
That's an interesting question, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think someone has asked me that before. But I'll say it's really interesting because from outside, you view KRA as a tax collector, like the taxman or taxwoman.
Yeah.
But when you're on the inside, you see the overview picture of how KRA is facilitating challenges which are being faced, how they're addressing those challenges, how the revenue is being collected, and you can also see where the revenue goes to. So you have a different perspective from inside out as opposed when you're looking outside in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. A last one. Could you kindly make the record straight that KRA is all about collecting the taxes, is not all about spending the taxes? Because most of the times we think, okay, juu yeye ndiye alichukua, bado ni yeye amespend. Could you sort of create that also awareness so that the public knows probably when they are lashing out, they shouldn't lash out to the taxman or taxwoman?
Oh, true. Yes. The Income Tax Act gives the mandate to the Commissioner General and Kenya Revenue Authorities as a whole to sort of give a guidance on how to collect revenue and the administration around the collection. But as you said, we collect on behalf of the government, so the government will spend and will administer the spending as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think then we extend that question. What does KRA do, and what doesn't KRA do?
Putting it simply is revenue collection and administration around that. But of course, we have to be given the mandate by acts of parliament, by the Finance Act. So we sort of work in a controlled environment within the mandate that will be given. Yes, so some of the emerging issues, you might be like appointed as a collector, but basically our role ends there. Yes.
Okay, interesting. Now, what are some of the key taxes that Kenyans are supposed to be paying from a Kenya Revenue Authority point of view, with also, of course, the housing levy is back, but could you give us some of the taxes that our Kenyans are supposed to be compliant of?
The major one will be income tax.
Yeah.
So income tax will have different divisions, but the major one is income tax. This is tax on the income that you're getting, and then it will branch out to things like pay as you earn, monthly rental income, turnover tax, value added tax, and then apart from income, there's customs duty, basically for people who are importing or exporting, and then now there are levies, like now the housing levy, which based on the organization we are collecting for, they give us the mandate on the collection. Yes.
Tax levy, the difference.
Taxes will be basically on your consumption or your income, then levies will be towards facilitation of something. For example, training, housing, things like those. But taxes are on the income you're earning, or revenue, value addition, things like those. Yes.
Okay, interesting. So June, always we are told to remember to pay, to remit, to do our file our taxes and all of that. But before we go to that, there's some sweeping rules that sort of came in, and one of them is the items, and so many people are confused about this, particularly people in small businesses.
Yes.
Yeah, could you talk to us a little bit more about that, and what does really items entail?
Oh yes, that is a really hot topic right now.
Yeah.
I know there's a deadline approaching, 30th of March, where now people not registered for value-added tax, you're supposed to comply with that. But basically, ITIMS is an electronic tax invoice management system for your business that tracks sorts of the sales you're making and the purchases you're making. So it is not mode of actually paying taxes, but administering your sales, basically like a business administration sort of software. Normally it's provided by us.
Would you say it's a QuickBooks from the government?
That's an interesting way of putting it, Alan, but you can look at it that way. I haven't interacted with QuickBooks, but it will be similar. Basically, tracking your sales and your purchases for easy administration. Yes, especially now that in most countries you're moving away from the manual system of doing things to electronic system of doing things and more simplified ways of doing things. So ITIMS will be now coming in to bridge that gap. Yes.
Could you then paint a picture for us, because you say that businesses that are not paying value added tax, which kind of businesses would pay value added tax? Because people who are watching might not be aware. And at what point, me as a business, hata kama nauza mboga, do I need to be on ITIMS? Because basically I'm exchanging money. I'm a client, nimkatia mboga, umenipatia pesa. Do I also need to be on ITIMS to be able to track all of that? You could paint a picture of both.
Okay. Now for one principle of actually taxation is you cannot segregate a certain group of people, so it has to be all inclusive. So same applies for ITIMS. It is all inclusive. Everyone in business, regardless of your turnover or your nature of business. But then now we classify people who are in business registered for value added tax. Value added tax is mandatory if you're making a turnover of 5 million and above, and you're dealing with taxable services or goods. Things that are eligible for value added tax. But then if your turnover is below that, you can still register voluntarily, not required by law. But any person in business is supposed to be registered on ITIMS, and we've done, I think, a decent job of making it simpler, so that businesses can use it and also small businesses can use it. Simplified versions like having it on a USSD code. So you can generate your invoice, issue your invoices. So basically it's for everyone in business.
Okay.
Even if you had a business, you'll be on
I don't think you're selling to me. We are we are educating the public here, but I totally understand. But there is something key that you said when about making it available on USSD, and the government is I don't want to use the word hell-bent, but the government is deliberate on making sure that it sort of brings everybody into the tax bracket. How is that proving daunting on KRA? And I'm not saying that now you will probably be admitting vulnerability, but what are some of the mechanisms that you're putting in place to make sure that at least everybody is sort of contributing kujenga taifa?
Yes. That has been a major challenge previously, because when you have systems running electronically, there's that thing where not everyone is conversant or has access to internet. That's why we have initiatives like having it on SSD or having our other service on USSD, so that if someone does not have internet access, then they have another option of doing it. But you're also doing literacy programs, something like this, or even on local programs, using local champions, so that we can get to taxpayers at a language they can understand.
Okay, interesting. I think we've had a good base for this. Let us take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be coming back with filing taxes. There are people who are fond, probably I'm also a part of them, filing nil returns. Yeah, and our days are coming. I heard our days are coming to an end pretty soon. Yeah, you're going to be telling us more about that. So if you have any questions, kindly push them through. The lines are still the same, some on WhatsApp and on SMS. The numbers are on your screen, or you can find us on our socials. That is at Science TV Kenya. Probably you might be wondering, KRA, why all KRA of all people? It is important because the only way we can build and take Kenya forward is by us paying taxes, and we have to understand how to be able to pay these taxes. I am speaking to Mildred, who is an officer at the Kenya Revenue Authority, and in the first segment we spoke about the different taxes that exist. There is pay as you earn, there is the value added tax, there is a mirage of taxes, and also she got to sort of speak about the differences between a levy and a tax. If you missed that, you can check our social media platforms. That is at Science TV Kenya, that is on X, Facebook, and across other social media platforms. But if you have any questions, you can drop them on the numbers on your screen, SMS or WhatsApp, and we'll be glad to sample some of those questions. Now, Mildred, before we went for the break, now we had hinted about tax remitting or filing returns.
Yes.
First and foremost, for us who are employed, yeah, and salaried, we know what it means to file returns. But for somebody who is watching home and they're like, okay, I want to be a part of the journey of building our country, what does filing returns mean, and why is it important?
Okay. Yes, Alan, in our earlier segment, we did state actually taxes are not segregative, like it's applicable to anyone.
Yeah.
So filing of returns actually will be applicable to anyone who has a PIN, regardless of if you have income or if you don't have income.
Yeah.
And when we say filing, because Kenya works on a self-assessment sorts of module,
Yeah.
so do other many countries work on that module. When we say self-assessment, we mean you as Alan would, sorry to use you.
It's okay. It's okay. I am the guinea pig right now, so it's all right.
Okay, I'm sorry for that. But you'll tell us how much income you had, either from employment, from business.
I tell you.
From, yes.
And you expect me not to lie?
Yes, we expect you not to lie. We expect you totally not to lie. But you'll say how much income you had from all your sources.
Yeah.
And then in case any tax was deducted or paid on your behalf during the year, or you paid any taxes, and then now an assessment is done of what you owe, if any.
Yeah.
So that is the process of now declaring a tax, filing a return. We have a prescribed form on how to do it to ensure uniformity. But basically, you declare you had this income. If you didn't have any income, it is also important to do it because it helps us on our end to sort of have a gauge of where everyone is, if you're actually stating what is correct or not.
Yeah.
Yes, so filing of returns is very important because now this is how you get to know how much tax to pay, if any.
Yeah.
It is also mandatory by law as guided by the Income Tax Act, and it also helps with compliance on checks on our end, just to know who's paying, who's not paying, who's paying the right amount, who's not paying the right amount.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I would look at it from a PIN, that is a personal PIN, and then I would look at it from a business PIN.
Yes.
Compare and contrast for us. What are the different thresholds? There for a personal filing. Would it look the same as a person who has a company?
It's slightly different because now companies do not have employment income.
Individuals,
yes, they have business income, and sort of you prepare books of accounts, which shows your income against your allowable expenses, your assets against your liability, any tax that was withheld, any tax paid in advance. So that guides companies on how to file returns, and then they're taxed on the profit at our standard rate 30%. And then now we'll have individuals who have income only, employment income, they're just in employment, and that tax is deducted over the months at a graduated scale. And then now we have individuals who have income outside of employment purely, that is also taxed at a graduated scale. And then we have now individuals who have both employment income and business income. So for their case, for employment income, we have a tax deduction card, which your employer issues you at the end of the tax year. It will show your income, any taxes that have been remitted in terms of pay as you earn, that guides you on the filing. And now for income outside of employment, you have like a rough sketch of your business outlook. That is your income, allowable expenses, assets and liabilities if applicable. That guides you on the filing.
Yeah. Yes. I'm not teaching people how to evade taxes, but if I have a company and I do not make any profits, then I might not be compelled to pay any taxes because I don't have a place where I'm going to pay the 30% from.
Yes. But you pay taxes if you are at a profit. If you're at a loss, you still declare your returns. Remember when we started, we said any person with a PIN has to file the return, regardless of if you're at a profit position or a loss position. So you still file your return. How much tax you pay depends on the profit. If no profit, then you don't have any tax to pay.
Yes. As we're having this conversation, I'm realizing there is so much that we need to talk about, and I don't know if time will allow us, but let's see what we are able to cover. There are people who do not have, I think, the 15 or the 20,000 to open a company, so hence they will not have a PIN that is associated with the company, but they will go ahead and open a business name. And this is very tedious because when you have a business name, then this business name is tied to your personal PIN. True or false?
True.
Now, say I have my business name and I do business with that, but I'm also, I don't want to use the word hustler. Niko na mali pengine nimeandikwa nafanya kazi ya wenyewe and I still get income off of that. From that point of view, how then do I file my taxes? Because now I don't only have one place that I'm bringing in money. I have the employment side and I also have the business side. How do I differentiate the two? Nisigonge KRA.
Okay, so actually when you're filing your returns, you can have as many streams of income as well. You'll get someone with business income, with rental property, with vertible business, with employment. You can have as many sources of income as you can, which is good for us actually. That's why we wouldn't limit you.
Hardworking Kenya.
But yes, you'll just pay the fair share. But when it comes to the filing, we have a provision for filing employment income, and we also have a provision for other sources of income, and the two can be one return that you're doing for the year. So you can have as many streams of income as you have in business and other sources, and you can even have multiple streams of income from employment. The taxation for a resident individual is the same at a graduated scale.
There's something that you mentioned, vertible business. What is that?
That is, there are services and products which have been listed as subject to value-added tax. Say, for example, cleaning services, transport. There's so many services. Yes, so those are the ones, the value-added tax actually lists what is exempted, but basically those are the vertible services or goods. Yes.
Besides you collecting taxes, KRA, and you representing them, of late you've been lenient, where you have been giving people breaks, or how have you been? There is a name that you've been using.
Tax amnesty.
Yeah, tax amnesty.
Yes.
Before we talk about tax amnesties, because now every Kenyan might be interested in that, I want us to talk about the demographic that, of course, we as Science TV really care about. Tax exemptions. There is that provision of tax exemptions for persons with disabilities who are either in business or who are in employment. For a person who might not be aware about that, how does that really work?
Oh yes, for persons with disabilities, we do have sorts of a provision that gives you an exemption to a certain limit. So I have to note, before you can get the exemption from Kenya Revenue Authority, you have to have applied for an exemption certificate through the National Council of Persons with Disabilities. They forward your application to us, we vet. If everything is okay, it is approved. You're given an exemption certificate on your income tax for 5 years. So basically, the income you're earning annually is exempt up to 1.8 million. Anything above that then will be taxable. Yes. Okay.
Sounds good.
If application is duly done, then we grant you the exemption.
Interesting. How does this extend to business? Because so many people have been wondering if I'm in business and say I make turnover of 5 million and I'm a person with a disability, then would I still fall in that tax exemption bracket? But also, let me ask it from a more realistic point of view, because probably I'm not saying that they aren't there. They are there who have such businesses. But I might want to sort of back up the income that I'm getting from employment. How does my tax exemption extend now to my income that I am earning through business?
That would still be exempt because at the end of the year,
Yeah.
if you're in employment, the moment you get your exemption certificate, you give it to your employer.
Yeah.
So as long as in a month you're earning less than 150,000, then your full salary is exempt from tax.
Yeah.
Anything beyond that in a month will still be subject to tax.
Yeah.
So for employment income, it's actually a bit easier to administer because your employer then determines you have an exemption, you're no longer deducting pay as you earn for you. But for business income, it will apply at the end of the year. Now, when you're filing your income tax return, you declare how much income you had and against the expenses. And then now the profit is what we check. Is it together with your employment income and any other income that you had, is it exceeding 1.8 million? So anything beyond that now is what you pay tax on. If it's not beyond that, you don't have any tax to pay. But for other purchases, like value-added tax, if you go to a supermarket, you'll not be exempt. You'll still, if you're purchasing a car, for example, you still have to apply for an exemption from the customs department. So
How does that work? Because I've had some of my friends waliacha kutembea na mguu. I'm like, where are you all getting this money to buy the cars?
You actually apply for exemption from customs at the point of importation. Yes, so the customs.
So it happens at the point of importation when the car gets to Mombasa or before you even buy it?
When you're starting the process, then you engage us on the process of exemption because you'll want to see how much you're paying for the car, where you're purchasing the car from and things like those. So when you're starting the process, you engage us. Yes.
So then what are the thresholds? Because I heard there is thresholds. I cannot go out there and buy, what car do I want? A Jeep Wrangler, that would cost close to 15 million and I'm still expecting to get a hefty amount of deductions on that.
Okay, in terms of the purchases, we do not have a limit, but we do have regulations on what kind
you
of
can buy and what you cannot buy. You cannot tell me that you're buying a luxury car, you cannot pay small taxes.
True, and the modifications also done to the car to allow you to use the vehicle. Yes, but in case anyone is in that category and would want more information on that, they can reach out to us and we'll be able to guide. Yes.
All right. Amnesty, as we're coming to an end, in which situations would KRA be kind to its customer and say, tumekusamehe?
Okay. Actually, the tax amnesty, I don't know if you've seen the campaigns, but ni kama chapa reset. We're giving you a chance to start over. It was introduced by the Finance Act 2023, and it is applicable for your penalties and interest. So up to December 2022, any penalties and interest you have, will grant a waiver of those under the tax amnesty. But I have to know their conditions. So if someone has filed all their returns, they don't have any principal tax. The principal tax is that tax you've assessed and you have to pay. If you don't have any principal tax, it's automatic. But then if you have tax to pay that is outside the penalties and the interest, you have to pay it by 30th of June. It has been running since last year, September. We are almost coming to an end of the tax amnesty program, which is 30th of June 2024. So if you have any principal tax, you make an application, pay your principal tax before 30th of June, then you're granted the amnesty. Penalties and interests only.
There might be other things that are not exempted.
From the tax amnesty? No, unless you had a case of tax avoidance or any compliance issue where we initiated the process for you because you've been avoiding to pay your taxes, then that is what will be not allowed for the tax amnesty. Everything else is eligible for the tax amnesty. Only the duration, 31st December 2022, going backwards, penalties and interests only, and have paid the principal amount. There
is a saying that I've heard in the tax space, at yatofanye nini, the tax person will catch up with you eventually. Could you tell us what are some of the circumstances that, because this is very important here, and I know you might be giving it away, but it is important for the public to know that I like using examples when we were growing up. A parent will tell you, by the way, unajua vitu unafanya nilikuwa nimeshafanya, so najua kitu unafanya. Which are some of the things that you, as from a carer perspective, you are aware that people are doing, but they think that you all don't know, but you want to tell them to stop doing that and instead do the right thing.
Okay. The two major issues. The one you started with, filing a nil return, and you have a trail of income. Yes, because we do provide for filing a nil return. That is a zero return. If the year, for example, right now we are filing for the year 2023, January to December 2023. Now, if you had no income at all from any source, regardless of the amount, that's when you do a nil return. But in most cases, you'll find someone, just because I'm not employed, then I don't pay taxes. So you do a nil return. So that is one of the major cases. The other one is you pay, but you pay little. You had an income of 1 million, you only say you had 100,000. Yes, so normally after the filing we do assessments, because as you said, how true are we, how sure are we what you said you earned is what you actually earned. So we sort of review what you filed and then see if you're paying the correct taxes.
Interesting. Interesting. Your final word to people, to sort of rally them to be able to pay taxes, what would you tell them?
I'll tell them, as Kenya Revenue Authority, we've gone out of the way just to educate and to facilitate and to assist in terms of filing and payment. So even in an instant where you're not able to pay your taxes instantly, you can engage with us. We sort of do a payment plan for you, or we advise based on the income that you're getting, so you don't have to feel stuck or you have to avoid or evade. You can reach out to us and then we can facilitate you.
Actually, I had a question before I sort of asked you to wind it up for us. How would you advise somebody better pay their taxes? Say, if you have employees, and you have to pay either withholding tax or pay as you earn, would you rather wait it accrues for an entire year, or would you rather pay it month by month? Because it is tedious from a tax collector's point of view. What have you seen work best?
Now, income tax, the one that we do every year, is done annually by 30th of June. But then for the other taxes, we do have provisions by when. So, say for example, pay as you earn, you don't have an option of paying it at the end of the year.
Or you have to remit it at the end of the month.
Yes, by the 9th of the subsequent period, because now the penalties will be too hefty for you. So, for the monthly returns, we have deadlines on when you should file and pay. It is best you adhere to those.
You're looking at me. Are you guilty?
Yes, because like pay as you earn is deducted and paid by the 9th, value added tax is paid by the 20th, turnover tax by the 20th, monthly rental income by the 20th of the subsequent month. What you mean is January pay as you earn, you deduct it from your employees, you pay it by the 9th of February. So we do have those provisions. Someone who's not very conversant can either reach out to us or check our website to see by when
are you supposed to pay.
Yes.
Does withholding tax accrue penalties?
Yes, it does. Actually, withholding tax upon deduction is supposed to be paid by the 5th day. Yes, so if you're making a payment today, 5 days to make the payment.
Somebody's in trouble. I think we should even end the conversation.
I hope I did not scare you. But as you said, Alan, we have really tried to shed more light on this, and I'm glad maybe the demographic in Kenya is changing, but people are more receptive, people are more knowledgeable now. So if there's a gray area, it will be advisable to reach out to us, either through our social media pages. We do have a contact center. They can reach out to us through that, or they can visit any carrier office for any gray area, especially with the amendments, for guidance. We do realize there is information that is put out that might not be true, and the fact that it has been said by so and so in a certain field goes as the truth.
And they might be prominent in their own right.
Which might not be true. So it is advisable, if there's a gray area, reach out to us, then we can advise.
All right. Not any, unless there is anything else that you want to say.
Personally, nothing more to add. Please remember to file your taxes by 30th of June for income tax, for entities outside individuals by the respective accounting periods.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Mildred, and send our greetings to your other officers at KRA, and we promise them that we shall pay our taxes duly, and I hope you you will pay your taxes duly after having this conversation. That's all we've had for you this morning. I've been your host, Alan Herbert. Sign language interpreter has been Tobias Omondi, and of course with another lady at the beginning of this conversation. If you're just tuning into your TV by any chance, do not worry. You can rewatch this conversation across our social media platforms. That is at Science TV Kenya. Let's see you tomorrow. Good morning.